Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your July 2020 General Tarot reading. It's Raina here. So as you can tell, this is quite late. And who knows if I'll do all the signs, because I really might have to start on a new series that's more up to date. But I did want to get something out, and I've been having tech issues and including my equipment, and what is going on right now. I probably don't need to tell you this, and it might make you hyper aware of it, but I have had problems with a tripod, and I found an old one. I found one that I was buying for a smartphone that didn't work properly. And that's a different story, that I was going to film from my phone instead. And so this is kind of a little bit heavy to put on. My camera is a little bit too heavy to put on this tripod. So I'm trying to be as still as a statue when I'm recording. But it seems like even when I breathe on it, it moves. So anyway, I'm a little loopy. I got up at 4, I went back to sleep, and I don't know if some of you have been getting, not sleeping very much lately. I certainly haven't. I think because the sun is so strong, because of the solstice, I was only sleeping like 5 hours a night. So I went to bed a little bit earlier last night, but I woke up at 4, and that was still 5 hours. So I went back to sleep a little bit later. And then that made me feel weird. So, oh my goodness gracious. I probably didn't have to go into that, but what can I say? Oh look, the first 3 cards are fire. And we are fire, because I'm a Sag. And yes, the person who's saying we know you're a Sag, good, I'm glad you know I'm a Sagittarian. Actually, the Knight of Wands is the card of Sagittarius. Okay. So that's even more of an affirmation about us being the center of our lives right now. So the heart of the matter is the Knight of Wands. Unless this is another Sagittarian that you're interested in your life, or that is involved in your life. If you read the court cards with gender, this will be a male. Age-wise, I don't like to talk about chronological age, because this could even be like somebody in their 40s who's unwilling to settle down. And you're waiting for them to get there, and they just can't. They either keep stringing you along. I'm not talking about somebody who's already married. I'm talking about somebody who has commitment phobia. And, they just have that certain issue going on that makes them less desiring that type of situation. However, this could be somebody who's a straight up player, who is very interested in sampling the pollen from many different flowers. Another possibility is that you're a free agent finally. Maybe you're cut loose from your job during the shutdown, and after the initial shock, you feel almost ecstatic, like the world is my oyster. I'm not under the heavy tyranny of that situation. In the past position, we have the 7 of Wands. Something may have made you feel defensive, Sag. And now I think that you're freed from that. So if it was a job situation, you can never do it well enough. If it was a relationship, the person, was always kind of giving you little jabs, giving you little negative feedback, and then playing it off. I think that's typical for some of these people. By the way, I think there's a fruit fly that's flying around. Oh gosh, well I have a lot of fruit here, but I also left my cranberry juice out last night, so that wasn't really a good idea. But you know, what this could be as well is if you have met somebody, you might feel that you're afraid of commitment, so you're kind of like being overly defensive. So I don't know who this Knight of Wands is, if this is a facet of yourself or not, but if it isn't, you're kind of like maybe fearing them. Maybe you're fighting back, but it still is not a good situation. The higher message is the Queen of Wands, and this is about developing confidence and yet still having compassion, not being cocky. I think for women, this is a great card because, I mean, this is a feminine and masculine card in one. The Queen relates to water element and the Wands relate to fire. And for a Sagittarius woman, we are masculine sign. We're a masculine sign. And masculine signs can be assertive or they can be aggressive. When a person is aggressive, they will tend to, it'll tend to work against them. People will be less likely to give you what you want when you're aggressive. The only reason that people tend to do this is because they don't feel self-empowered. So all three cards on that top level are fire energy. So you could be dealing with another fire sign. Aries and Leo are the other fire signs. Or this is simply your evolution to becoming more self-actualized, confident, independent, meaning that you don't need other people's approval to do what you want to do. You don't need their, not just approval, but, yeah, I guess it's considered the approval, but I'm thinking of their permission to do something. If your moon sign, for instance, is in Pisces or Libra or maybe a few other signs, you might be the kind of person who is a little bit more worried about being approved of. You want somebody's permission. You might never admit that, but you do things that suggest that. And in those cases, it's going to be something that you have to learn the hard way if you're not willing to realize here and now that that approach doesn't work. There always has to be the ability for the person to be willing to accept responsibility for their life. And that's kind of what the Wands is all about, is autonomy and self-sufficiency, you know, being able to call your own shots if that's what you're looking for in terms of professions, where you're not like answering to somebody and you don't have to receive feedback from a supervisor. But I will say that, you know, even if you work for yourself, your client, your customer may give you feedback, positive or negative. So it's not like you can just do whatever you want, whenever you want, and, you know, not have to answer to anybody. Sometimes you do, regardless of whether you work for yourself or not. But it's the ability to also be able to call your own shots, not to just be completely dependent on somebody else. And this also goes for relationships. But if you're the kind of person who has been hurt before and you're unconsciously picking somebody like the Knight of Wands, then you have a built-in excuse. Oh, this person is unreliable, they're a womanizer, what have you. And then you don't have to really accept responsibility for your fears about getting serious with somebody. The Queen of Wands is about more confidence to be able to know who is right for you, you know, that self-love. To me, the wands are about loving the self, honoring the self, living in integrity. And part of that is picking people that honor you that way. If you pick somebody who constantly puts you down, and that's what the Seven of Wands relates to you, where you're always having to defend yourself, then you're really betraying yourself. You're just as important as anyone else, or the other person in a relationship. The higher message is the Judgment card. I mean, not the higher message. One thing I was going to say about the Queen of Wands, which is the higher message, is this could be that you have leadership abilities and you shouldn't hide your light under a bushel. So being the Knight of Wands may mean taking a risk and choosing to maybe even just walk away from a job because you feel that your talents are not being honored. And, with the Queen of Wands, it's like, hey, I want to be in a position of authority. I want to have the ability to make decisions for the company, within this company, or if it means working for yourself, because I think I have a lot of great ideas. I think I have great judgment. And then I said, I think I have great judgment. And then I just went to put this down. So in the challenge position, the Judgment card can mean somebody that doesn't have great judgment, that has been making mistakes because of that, maybe kind of diluted ideas, inflated sense of self. And yeah, I mean, the Knight of Wands might even be a co-worker. And perhaps there's this kind of sexual energy that's underneath the surface here, but that is masquerading on the surface as kind of being like 10 years old again, where the boy teases the girl, but he really likes her, and the girl does whatever to him, and really she likes him. So that could be what's going on as well, that there's somebody that's in the office and you feel like you want that kind of authority that the Queen of Wands represents, because you don't want to have to deal with office politics as much. I'm not saying that you wouldn't have to do that if you were the supervisor, but in your mind you may think that, and that might be leading you to do certain things. And the Judgment card is saying, look at what you're doing here. What are you doing? Why do you think this is a good idea? Again, talking about the love angle, you might be attracted to a certain type of person who may not be ready for commitment, and then you can complain about how there are no good men out here, but you're not looking for a person who's a family man or who is in a stage of life that they want to do that. So let's see. Also, one more thing, the Judgment card can be karma, but in what I call, cause and effect. So not seeing how you contribute to some of the situations that you encounter, and feeling like that victim, feeling like you don't have control of your life, and you're making decisions that are foolish. What's coming in is the Queen of Cups. This is the card of somebody who is very psychic, somebody who is artistic. Maybe you're consulting somebody like this. Maybe you're going to call Or maybe you're going to order a reading from Rain and Moon Astrology. Maybe that's in your future, Sagittarius. But this could definitely be a facet of yourself where you are feeling that there's a very like sensitive side of you coming out, and it may be insightful. It may be like, oh man, I'm my own worst enemy here. I'm shooting myself in the foot. Why am I spending time with this person? Why do I keep going back to them? I know this person isn't good for me. Why? Why do I do this? And kind of challenging the universe to explain itself. But you may be getting involved in, artistic career, some kind of endeavor that is of the healing arts variety, and the outcome is the Emperor. The Emperor is connected to Aries, so, maybe that's who the Knight of Wands is. Another fire. I told you there's a lot of fire in this reading. And I should do compatibility with Sag and Aries. Maybe I'll do that today if I get around to it, or in the near future. But Aries is a sign that is all about, it can be about having control of one's life, because Aries is the first sign, it's a sign of the self. When people are very interested in themselves at a deeper level, they believe that they have the right to their freedom. And the other thing is, with the Emperor, they believe they have control of their life. Obviously, that's not true 100%, because there are situations where you have to go along with the program. But the point being that this card could indicate that you are involved with somebody, or will become involved with somebody who is very set in their ways, I would say. That they're very black and white. This card is connected to the military and gyms. And law enforcement, I should say, too. So if this describes this person's character, they may be very brave, but on the flip side, it might be a situation where it's too rigid for you, where they are very like black and white about life, and that can get to somebody like a fire sign, because Sagittarians, we tend to be very more mutable signs. We can see different points of view, and we don't like to feel that we are narrow, limited in our thinking. So I'm thinking that perhaps some of you are taking control of your life. And if that's the case, more power to you, because you don't need to put your faith in somebody else. It's all about you. It's all about what you're going to do for your life, not what other people are doing. And this might make you feel more aligned. This might make you feel like you have the ability to manifest what you want. If you have had an experience where you have felt a lot of resistance, then perhaps you were not doing what you were supposed to be doing. And now you may be going in that direction. I hope so. Oh well, this is a perfect time to wrap up this reading as a freight train is going by. So I hope that you enjoyed this, Sag, and I hope you have a great month. Take care. Bye.